Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff podcast. I'm just going to make them more and more interesting every time we do this podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate investing, the random stuff that makes life interesting. I'm here with Carlos Moore from
That's so funny, man. I'm excited to hear the joke.
And Papa P from Ted Sysops. How you guys doing? How's the week going?
Happy Friday. Good. April already. Q2 rocking. Very
good. Rocking and a rolling.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked at the Slack channel that we have of like social media content that we post that we want to talk about on the show until just now, because that's the way to do it. And I saw the one from about Publix. Have we talked about this on the podcast? I felt like that was something that happened off the show.
Papa P and I have been talking Publix and grocery prices correlating to all things global economy and real estate.
I'll just say this: you better have this thing pulled up, because you don't mention some shit like that, get me all riled up, and then not be ready to share the fucking post, because
I have
Publix it honestly is like, so if you remember from a few epis ago, I had hardcore evidence from Brandon Pedersen's own brain memory bank of what I used to pay for this type of fish at Publix. And it was like $5-6, and now it's like 11 something. It's almost like $12. It is doubled in price pretty much over the last 4-year span, which is 25% year over year increase in cost of what it's costing me. So then I looked at this and I saw that in 2022, from 2022 to 2023, there was a 49% increase in their profit, not revenue, but it's like, dude, net earnings, not earnings as in gross, but like net of expenses, earnings, 50%. So then I said to myself, I was like, so then maybe it wasn't that the fish got more expensive. They just wanted to make more effing money, and they're just sticking it to us. And you guys at least have options, but they have, because I'm from Publix's home.
Yeah.
They were invented here. The family lives here. Up until Aldi just got in, we had no other grocery stores. The only other grocery here is Walmart Supercenter, right? That's it. You go into Walmart, and you might as well just go into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory at that point. And then there's a fucking Winn-Dixie, and Winn-Dixie is like a whole other type of
so interesting.
Like Winn-Dixie is like, is that even a grocery store, bro? Like, what is it? Do you just buy the bottom barrel of everything from somewhere, non-name brand, throw it all in regardless of what's happening, and then charge? Like,
yes,
I haven't even heard of that one.
That's all we get here. We don't have Whole Foods. We don't have Trader Joe's. We don't have Kroger's. We don't have any of that stuff. So we have to buy Publix in Lakeland, unless you go to Walmart, and I can't do that.
It's really interesting because, we've talked about it, and I've only talked about it off the show because I've missed a couple episodes this past quarter. Anyways, and I was saying, I go to Publix and I'll shop for like one meal, and it's like $40 to $60 depending upon what the meal is, and then I go to a place like Trader Joe's and I can get like 3 meals for the same amount of money I'd spend at Publix. And I contemplated in my head as like, and I had heard from somewhere that like the profit that Publix was getting was like massively increasing, but it's pretty funny that the direct correlation in the increase of prices is the direct correlation of their profit. Like if they were to say that it is inflation that is causing prices to go up, then their profit should be the same percent, but their revenue should be increasing. But if their profit is increasing, then that does not match up to the story of the reason prices are so high and you're having to pay way much money in Publix is because of inflation. So I just pulled this up a couple minutes ago and I was like, look, proof.
It's like the only way like I don't really brag about how much money I make or whether I'm wealthy or not. The only real way to know that Brandon has money is that my kids eat organic fruit. Like that's
Right.
the running joke. Is like when you see somebody walk out of Publix with organic fruit, that's like driving a Lambo in today's economy. People are like, "Oh shit, they just bought organic strawberries and blackberries and organic bananas." Like that family's doing real good for themselves. Like they must be in the top 1% because to buy one thing of strawberries is almost $10 now.
That's
It's
crazy.
insane, and that's organic. Obviously, I'm
Hey, there was
talking.
a massive organic sale of strawberries at Publix this past week. I hope you took advantage
Oh,
of that. It's like 3 for
no,
12.
because honestly, we don't go. So Carlos and I talked about this. Like we don't go to Publix for that anymore. We now go to Aldi's for all of our fruit. Is
Mhm.
that's it? Like, but it's there's a joke like among families and stuff. People I know, it's like that you have money because you're buying either organic fruit, like your kids are eating organic fruit, or pasture raised eggs and grass fed.
Mhm.
Like if you can afford any of that stuff,
Yeah.
like yeah, you're in a top percent income bracket. And that's a sad thing to say that actually. So yeah, we've had to go to Aldi's and drastically reduce our income, and now we only or our expenses and only shop at Pubbies for you
Ex-
know this the other stuff like sauces, the shit you can't get at Aldi's.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's
What's a pub sub nowadays? Like $25?
bro, with
That's pretty
inflation, it
funny.
might be 50, dude. Like,
Yeah.
um, it's just a lot of it is like so I also and this is getting a little off track, but it goes to the money and the economy. So this morning I was watching this thing on here where they were saying that the large so like the big size truck, whether it's the F-250, the Ram 2500, the F-150, full size luxury truck they call them, those
Yeah.
now only account for a few percentage of total auto sales when they were accounting for like double digit. I think it was like 20 to 30% of auto sales back
Oh wow,
before
that's crazy.
2020. And they said the new thing because they're like my truck that I had before and like a lot of those bigger ones, you're costing about 100 grand for those trucks, right? Like when I got mine
Yeah.
back in like 2020, I think I got mine. It was like 80 some K. And then after I got it, inflation hit and I saw my same truck going for like in the 90s, almost
Mhm.
100K for that Ram. And it was like, they're saying now the sales have dropped so drastically because of affordability, and now everyone the correlated increase is in a mid-size sedan, which were
Interesting.
previously
People are going back to
previously
cars.
struggling. Yep, mid-size sedans were previously struggling in sales, and now it appears people are saying to themselves, "Wait a second, I
You
don't
just get a
need."
cheaper car.
Yeah, just get
And
something
the
cheaper,
gas too on
smaller.
those big trucks is just
Well, I was diesel, so I was getting 20 miles to the gallon on my diesel.
yeah. See, that's
I
what
mean,
you got to do. Get a truck that size and diesel.
you gotta go diesel, bro. Like
Hmm.
and during hurricanes, it always pays off.
Hmm.
Everyone's always
Yeah, we
clogging
talked
the
about
gas
that
pumps.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah. You were
but I
driving.
just
Where were you driving? Up to Pennsylvania, I think it was when there was that
I was
gas
driving
crisis.
from PA to Florida, and
Yeah.
everyone's panicking. They were running out of gas at the pumps, but the diesel, I was just like, ha ha, I'm rolling up. And that was one of the reasons why I bought that truck was strictly
Yeah.
because I ran into that during Irma, and one of my buddies who had a diesel told me, like, bro, you got to get a diesel. Like, I didn't have any issues getting gas, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
I
I
just
was
found
thinking
that
it's
interesting. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was thinking I think I've been hearing, maybe you guys have heard this, of like Tesla sales being
Yeah.
really good. Being
Uh,
really good. But also the
I thought
price
Tesla
going
sales
down from
went
too much
down.
inventory. Maybe there's more inventory than sales. But I thought that maybe it was more of like a last year thing or not as recently that Tesla's selling a lot. What makes me think about that is cyber attack or power going out. What would happen if we get all these people on EV and they're not able to like charge their cars?
That's what they'll get. That's what they want, bro.
Or that Netflix movie where all the Teslas just drive and block the highway.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. You know, who's reporting phenomenal earnings are the large investment banks, the large banks. They're doing great. They're not struggling
Yeah.
at all. They're continuing to just rake in billions of dollars. Um, Meanwhile, the common person is struggling. Biden just approved, what was it, $7 billion to pay off 200, and I might mess this up, 220,000 people's student loans, finally pushing through because the U.S. Supreme Court rejected their overall bid, so they have to do it piecemeal. And so the first
Oh.
thing that's going through is, and I'm just thinking as someone who's sending his daughter off to college and she'll probably go, law school and all this stuff, and I'm thinking about the bills, I'm like, and I paid mine off when I got into real estate my first year, I was able to afford to pay everything. And I'm thinking, like, how is that fucking fair, bro? Like, it's just like you select these people who be like, you shall be debt free. And everyone else who did it for the last like 70 years, they're like, well, I guess
So
it
I mean,
doesn't matter.
I see your point, right? And I totally get the fairness, and I have no arguments against that at all.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm with you on that 100%. But don't you, since you are planning for your daughter to go to college right now, isn't it ridiculous how expensive it is? And then you go and look at those schools and how much. What is it that a school? What, it's not profit. What do they call it? The freak. What's it called? Their money that sits in the bank that they can do stuff with.
Endowment?
The endowment and how big the endowment is for
Harvard,
these universities.
I'm going to
It's
mess this up.
ridiculous.
I
I'll
forget this.
Google
This
it.
is an old stat. Harvard has enough money in their endowment for 100 years of students or something. It's some crazy
Oh
number
my
where
gosh.
they have enough money in their endowment to pay all their stuff as it is and send students for free for like, I don't know, it's like some crazy year, like 100 years. So right now we're between like, yeah,
Zoom in
dude.
on this.
Yeah,
Look at
49
this.
billion dollars.
49 billion?
49
Yeah,
billion in the
49
bank.
billion.
But yet,
Yeah.
meanwhile, people are going to college and like having to pay for it for the rest of their life. Why is it so goddamn expensive?
So,
If they
okay,
have
bro,
this much profit, please tell me.
you want
Educate
to
me. I
get
want to
into this?
know.
Yeah,
Let's
I
do
mean,
this.
it comes down. It's bullshit. One, you can unshare the screen, but it's crazy.
I kind of actually struck. I was kind of looking. Oh, you don't have to reshare, but I was kind of curious all the schools on there.
I mean, there's
It's
not
all
that
the,
many.
it's all the Ivies, bro. It's just the
Yeah,
Ivies.
this is all
They're
in
doing it in
Wikipedia.
order. If you look at
So-
it, it's all the Ivies.
Oh yeah.
So we're looking at a lot of colleges, right? So my daughter applied to a bunch and she got in. So right now we're between like a St. Francis, like my alma mater, and then Alabama's an option, Penn State and Auburn and stuff. Moral of the story is to go to Penn State. So we're out of state, right? In-state tuition is like 19 G's. Out-of-state tuition is like 40 G's. So it's double. Now, total, if my daughter wanted to go to Penn State, $58,000 a year, including room and board, meals, you know what I mean? The tuition, the whole thing to go for out-of-state is almost around $60,000. Now, my alma mater gave my daughter a very large academic scholarship, so she's getting half of her education paid if she goes there, and Alabama did about the same. So, which is wild because Alabama was almost as expensive as Penn State, but they gave her like, bro, she's getting so much money off. I think she got like a 70K scholarship or something. So when you math it out, it's like half of what it would be per year. And so she really wants to go to Penn State. But we started talking about it, right? Because I'm not paying for her college. I'll help with ancillary items, but I need her to understand like this is a life choice for you, right? Like you want to do this. So we started looking up loans and stuff, and you can only cap and I didn't know this, but your undergrad is like capped on a loan basis of like 120K, right?
For all 4 years.
For regular loans, yeah. So of course you got FAFSA and you could get your government grants and you could get your scholarships and all that. But just do the Penn State math, bro. Penn State for 4 years is going to be like,
double that.
And I know. And so she was like, well, I could get loans for this much because it's her dream school. And we have a house, like my family's from PA, but we can't claim residency. So it really sucks. And that's her dream school. She was born in PA. Her mom went there, like everybody, like Penn State. And she can't go because how do you rationalize going into debt $250,000? They're not giving her any scholarships.
That's not even masters or like.
And bro, it's just, no offense, because I'm from PA and I'm born and bred Penn State. but it's just Penn State, bro. Like it's not. You're
Not
not
Harvard.
going to Yale, dude. Like it's just Penn State. 60 grand. So now we've basically ruled it out, and we're between the other three, but Auburn's get ruled out because Auburn only houses 30% of its students on campus, and I didn't know that.
That's such a
which is-
small percentage.
So she would have to stay in an apartment. I'm like, well, honey,
Those are
like that's
ridiculously expensive.
it's not even about the money at that point for that. It's like you
Experience.
miss out. Yeah, you miss out on this college. Yeah, you know. So now we're between
Well,
Alabama and St. Francis.
I think
Anyway,
it depends on the location though, because like some out of campus
It's-
housing is
it's-
so close to campus, it doesn't really matter. Like here in
That's
Gainesville,
me. I
that-
walk.
like it's
Mine
just
was
an
like
a 5-minute walk.
ecosystem around
It is, but it's also dorm life as a freshman. So the majority of
Yeah.
colleges require freshmen, like freshmen get dibs, and you require them every. So say Alabama's like that, like Penn State, they're all requiring freshmen to live on campus first, and they have
Yeah.
like sectioned off freshman dorms, which makes sense.
Yeah.
You're 18, you're a babe in the woods. Let me send you here to get acclimated. Auburn's like, you know what, dude? Go live in the fucking ghetto and like walk to school. We don't care. 70% of our population does it. Like, so, but that's why
That's
it's so
interesting.
expensive, man. When you start looking at how they cap the loans too, like, not why.
But no,
schools are
you didn't
expensive, but
answer
why
why
the
it's so
affordability.
expensive.
Oh, I don't know why. Probably because they're able to. If you look at
It's
thought, so back in the day, college had a purpose. So in the
Mhm.
20s and 30s, 50s, 60s, right? Like you went for a higher education because you knew what you wanted to do and there was a
Mhm.
degree for it and you came out and you only went if
Mhm.
what you were going to do required that. Somewhere
Yeah.
along the lines as we started getting into the 70s and 80s, it become this standard, right?
Everybody
that in
has to
order
go.
to make because your family, right? Like the generation before you was poorer and they looked at everyone who did go and got
Yes.
accounting degree, a
It
law
was
degree, a
statement.
doctor
It was
degree.
a statement.
It was a
Yes.
statement. So then those generations were bred into that saying you need to go to college so that
Yeah.
they did. But eventually colleges were like, well, the demand is going crazy. Everybody wants to come here. Let's offer all these other degrees. You want to learn gender studies, you want to learn art history, you want to learn. And they just could. And everybody was told up until the last like 5 years, you had to go to college. That's it, point
It has
blank.
been,
Like
yeah,
you were in
up until 5, yeah. When I was at school, like it was
you went. There
you
was
couldn't say you weren't going to
bro,
college. That was
that
not
was
a
like
thing.
what? Nowadays it's
They'd be like,
acceptable
your parents would be like, "What are you dealing drugs? What are you trying to do?"
My dad sat me out in the driveway in the car and had a talk with me because I didn't want to go. I
Oh,
don't know. I
really?
didn't want to do anything. There was no reason. I was just like, I don't want to keep going to school. And he had a very
Mhm.
long talk with me, and I went.
How it was
Obviously, I went to
important.
college. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, the family and blah blah blah. You know, my duty, all this stuff. But
Mhm.
and I thank him for that because obviously I'm where I'm at today because of that. But that was the context of how you grew up. So John, why I don't have any stats, but I feel as if it's the demand that drove it, the generation saying you needed to do it, and the stigma if you allowed college. And that's why there's so many pop-up campuses. Penn State
Yeah.
has like, I don't even know, when we went to the tour, they had a map and like I would guess maybe like 8 or 9 branch campuses. And I was driving through Georgia and I saw a bunch of University of Georgia branch campuses on my way to the parks and stuff. And I'm like, man, like I feel like the first thing that's going to happen is people stop going to college is all these branch campuses are going to shut the F down because like, why do you need this many campuses?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I also so demand and supply economics, that's definitely a thing. So when there's more demand, then yes, the colleges can charge more money. I understand that part. I've got like 3 thoughts. That's thought 1. Thought 2, I wonder if colleges' perceptions shifted from completion rates of students to how big the endowment is to rank them. Because you don't see, like, I don't feel like anybody talks about how successful the students are necessarily that go to the colleges. It seems to be always the endowment is this large, and therefore that means that we're successful. So I feel like they shifted a little bit of like into the
Yes and
profit
no.
mindset and away from the education mindset. And then my final thought here is with public school, like through high school, becoming less and less effective, and like therefore do colleges and universities have to step up, and they can do those things like branch campuses because people are like, I didn't learn anything in high school. Now I need to go learn basic math again, and you can go to like a branch university
Yeah.
and like learn stuff. So I wonder if like that's a key aspect to it as well. It's just like public school is no longer as effective as it used to be, and therefore people like need the higher education to feel like they have some kind of basic knowledge. All right, those are my 3 thoughts.
I mean, one, I think my theory is everything reverts to the mean. We always go back in cycles. I think what's going to happen, colleges are going to shut down, not the private ones, not the large ones, not your state schools, but there's so many out there, these middle tier, low tier colleges that popped up to meet the demand. Branch campuses will shut down. That type of stuff I think will happen. But I don't think college picks up the slack because of high school. I think instead trade schools, vocational schools pick up the slack for high school. We already know we're short on tradesmen. We're short on so many like actual manual labor jobs that if you do anything of hiring any type of vendor, prices are astronomical. Again, that needs to settle in. The only way for that to happen is for more supply of the workforce to come in. So I see, exactly. So I see that happening. So I don't think, I don't agree with you. I think today's world, people say I don't need college. So like when I talk to my daughter, the law track makes sense, right? Like you need to go to law school, like, and you want to go to like a big 14 school. So we're like crafting, how can she get that trajectory to get into Harvard Law or a Yale or a Stanford or Michigan or something, right? Like, what do you do for that? But if it was Brandon at 18, I mean, I became an accountant, but like that time I went for philosophy. Like I didn't want to do anything. Would I have gone to college? Like in today's mindset, probably not. Like if my dad was me now, like if my son came to me and is like, Dad, I don't want to go to college. Like I'd rather go work on, I'd be like, cool, dude. Like there's no judgment. I'd be like, dude, like become an AC tech. Like you're going to make like 200 grand. I'll be calling you. Don't rip me off, please. Like it's a different mindset now. So I see that. I can see that happening. But I also disagree with what you said. Like, I don't think the ranking of the schools does have to do with the endowment. I do think there is a certain cachet because of success of previous students that maybe
I mean, that is a
lingering.
big reason why the endowment grows, is because of alumni donations. I know it's
And
not just what they're charging current students.
But I think it has a lot to do with name recognition. It's just like when you say, you say Georgetown, you say Harvard. Georgetown is still a great school. I was having this convo with my daughter because she's like talking about Columbia Law. I'm like, Columbia, Yale, Columbia, Harvard. She's like, Dad, it's still right there. I'm like, still a different cachet when you say the names. Like the world looks at you different. Because we all have been, that's what's instilled in you, right? So I don't know, man. Like if I said my school, people would be like,
like with the caps on student loans, how do people afford to go to Ivy League schools?
Well, dude, come on. You just answered.
I mean, they're just coming from
with your previous
rich
statement.
people.
Yeah. So like, I mean, so I've been a lot of research on this for like the law grad. I can't speak for undergrad. I'm already past that. I'm like, dude, these kids, they're bred for this. Like there's a consultant that I was looking at for kids who want to go into the Ivy law schools, the top 14. There's consulting firms that families hire. You hire them now just to get their kids. So you need to cater everything. Tailor your entire existence to become enticing, because out of like so many applicants, only a few get into Harvard Law. A few hundred, I think, is the total. I think
you
there's
have like
some
the best resume. It doesn't matter like how rich you are. Like they still have to compete to get in.
So the families spend the money. Or the consultants, they'll pay. There's no loans needed, no government grants. But like for the rest of us, like we apply for FAFSA, see if we get anything. If they approve us, you apply for the government grants, subsidized loans, private loans if you have to. And then you make up the difference, and you're like, that's why we're down to Alabama and St. Francis, because they gave her so much money, and I think I could still get more out of St. Francis. So I already called them last week to talk to
Where's
them.
St. Francis at?
That's where I went. That's above
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Okay. That would be out of state tuition, though. I mean, I guess
it's not. There's no in-state, out-of-state. It's a private. It's a private university. Still quite expensive, but they gave her like $100,000, so it's
nice.
Very. Yeah, she did good. She's an excellent student. So, but
that's where you want her to go.
No, I'm not forcing. Like, I know that's what a lot of people think just based on my personality. For me, I base everything on a foundation of information. Like, each school offers something unique. You have to decide. So we're working, you guys would be proud of this. I was like, okay, we need to work backwards. Where do you want to go? Like, where do you want to be? And which avenue gets you there the best? And then what steps do we have to take? So I'm teaching her this stuff. So right now she's writing 3 150-word little essays for me about 3 different majors she's considering: law, medicine, and anything else she might want, what she'll do with them, the impact she can make with them, and why she wants to do them, type thing. And from there, we decide, and we'll work backwards, which school provides you the best route to go do that. Like, how do you picture your future? And let's work from there. Because I don't think anyone does that for these kids. At 18, you basically have to decide what your 30-year-old self is going to be. And your guidance counselor, your school, none of them sit down and say, let's visualize our lives. Let's say, what would they just say? Apply to college. And because I did this, you go to high school. Like, John, you're almost there, dude. You have to go sit down. And then they get you in front of the auditorium. They're like, here's the steps. Here's the website. You do this. You do this. You got to fill this out by this deadline. You need to apply to this school. Here's what you do. And that's it. It's a checklist of things. But these kids are aimless. So that's kind of where we're at. So it's not where I want her to go. I want to make the best decision with her based on what what I read later. It's due by 5 o'clock tonight. So we'll see.
Fun. Yeah. I'm getting there.
Visualizations, bro.
Yes,
yeah, you will be. And you'll, hopefully prices have gone down, bro. Or maybe Biden will just maybe Biden wins again and he's just like, no one's got to pay for college anymore. Yeah. I think
it is having lots of cousins in England. I will say school is a lot cheaper over there. Higher education.
What about Oxford?
No, I mean, so there are exceptions. Yes, the Ivy League of England is also, but like I went to University of Florida. Like that's a regional school with a lot of students that go to that type of stuff.
Bro, that is a good school.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing it's not a good school. I'm just saying the counterpart of that school in England is a lot cheaper.
Before you came, before you went to university, you were in England, or were you in America when you applied?
I don't know when you came. 5.
I didn't know that. Okay. I'm sure you told me that. I was just curious. I was wondering if that had to do with the reason why you got in, because I was reading an anonymous post from an admission officer at Brown, and they broke down what admission anonymously looks for. And one of the criteria before you even get to the high achiever criteria is special interest, and it comes down nowadays LGBTQ, international students.
You got to get that diversification percentage.
Legacy students, and like she's like, before she was like, every school's different, but this is how we grade it. And she's like, first it's like you meet the scores, then do you fall into one of these categories? That takes up 50% of the acceptance. After that, the remaining 50, she said, are OHAs, ordinary high achievers. Everyone's just grouped like, yeah, you're all great, but you got nothing special, so now we just like fucking pick you based on your essay. It's wild, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, it is wild. I just remember talking to my cousins when I was applying for college and going through a lot of that process. And college over there, they're like trade school is a lot more popular in England and encouraged. You can stop going to like high school at the age of 16 and go straight into a trade school and be
done.
That's
what we had back home.
Yeah,
we had a vocational tech school.
Yeah.
When you were a sophomore or something, you had the option to leave at 10 a.m. and not take any more classes, and you would go to Votech school. But here's the thing. The stigma involved in that back in the 90s was like, oh, those are poor.
It was like the bad kids.
Poor bad kids. Yes.
Same
with me. Yeah, same with me.
The losers in life. And joke's on us because
they're the ones
I'm paying $6,000. They do. They honestly do. And we've talked
No,
about
I
it on
know.
the episode before where we pulled up posts and like remarks and stuff of like people comparing incomes.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. It's like, for law, it makes sense. We need a lawyer in the family. So like I'm very strategic with what I want, and like
Hmm.
I told her, if you don't want to be a lawyer, that's fine. But we need a lawyer in the family. Need to sue people, need to file some paperwork, bro. But if she wanted to be in the family business as real estate, do you think like she doesn't need to go to school, right? Like she could go to the
Hmm.
school of dad, she could work, and that's not just her, that's not her life, but I'm saying any parent, right? Like if your son wanted to become a coder, you send him to college, John, knowing what you
Oh,
know in your
freaking no.
why would you, right? Like with your experience,
Never.
dad
No.
can steer him in the correct direction and say,
Hmm.
son, like I know what you need to do. Go do this, this, and this. And how much do you think he would make self-educating himself if he was a good coder without college?
Oh,
Sky's the
definitely.
limit, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
like just
I mean,
based on your skill set.
you would need some stuff on your resume to get to the higher paying jobs, but you could quickly be 100K
Well,
plus.
who could provide that for him would be dad, right? Like, so that's where I think a lot goes is like, you don't need to go to college. Like
No, I don't.
and
Yeah.
but so now comes the reverting. I'm bringing it full circle. You asked me like where I thought things were going, right? And it's like what we just discussed of my daughter doing with me or your son doing with you is what it used to be back in the day called
Yes.
apprenticeship.
Yes.
And kids they just apprentice with either a family member or someone in the village,
Hmm.
and they got their skill set building their resume, and then they went
Hmm.
and did their own thing. I think that's what's coming back, dude. I think that's going to
Hmm.
be the thing that comes back.
Agreed.
Could see that for sure.
Relevant experience will become for some things, not and
For
I would
some.
say for a lot of things, not everything. I still think there's a percentage of things you got to go to higher education, and they're the only places
Oh, yeah.
that can teach you those things. But
Yeah,
for a lot of it, I don't think it's going to be necessary anymore.
Yeah, like I want my doctors to go to school. Hey, where'd you go? Well, I didn't go. I learned from my dad. Told me everything I needed to know. Don't worry about it. No,
I watch Scrubs. I watch a lot of Scrubs on Netflix.
I watch Grey's, House, Scrubs.
Yeah.
I'm good. I've watched them numerous times. I've read a book. Don't worry. I joined a mastermind for surgery.
I played the
don't worry.
surgeon game a lot when I was little.
Yeah.
But jokes aside, though, I do think some industries learnings have changed rapidly. Like I went to school, I went to film school, so I went through a year of normal film, like just learning about films, and then I was actually accepted into the small film program, and that was the only place that you could learn besides reading books. But now, like everything that I learned in school, I could watch in 6 months on YouTube.
On YouTube, you could.
Yeah. It's just, and
everything
even
you
like
learn,
master
yeah.
classes, like you just take a literally the master class program has so many directors on there talking about story, technique, interviews, podcasts, YouTube. I wouldn't need to go to college anymore.
100%.
But when I went to college, that's where if you wanted to be a filmmaker, you had to go learn at college because there was no other place to learn.
You know the wild thing about college right now? So even my school, right? My school turned the old post office area, because apparently they don't do postal mail, into an esports center. Auburn has one.
An esports?
Esports.
Oh yeah.
Gaming.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
Like that's something I didn't see. I think Penn State did too. I'm trying to recall in my memory, but I remember Auburn and St. Francis, and I was like
they're bringing people to that university
scholarships.
Are you serious?
Like it's a team. They have their own area, just like football has a locker room.
Yeah.
Esports has and the gaming centers
that's
was
hilarious.
nuts.
I didn't know about that.
And it's like I'm sure they're going for another education, but I'm like, this is something I didn't see coming. Like I didn't see that becoming a thing. And I don't know. So things are changing, but I'm not afraid about my daughter going. I think she's got a good head. I think she's going for the right reasons. My son, though, I don't think he'll go to college. Just knowing, I mean, he's only 8 or 9 right now, but I think he'll either go Votech or honestly, he may just sales. I could see him as a salesman or just somebody who just travels the effing world like a bum somewhere. Like that's more his personality style. Not in a bad way, but you know those people, like that's just
Yeah.
he's always got to be moving, which is why I think he'd be good at sales. I think he would be. I don't think college will be, but that's 10 years from now. I don't know what the college landscape looks like from there. I
Kids
definitely
change.
don't think it's gonna. Yeah, it's gonna change drastically.
Yeah.
So
Fun stuff. Fun stuff to think about.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It must be funny, like kind of gauging like what you think your kids are going to do as they grow up, or like think how they're going to be when they grow up, and then seeing how accurate that is. Like even me, I remember growing up, like I always just joked around a lot in school. Like I was like in the smart level like classes, but like if I wasn't interested in the subject, I didn't really care. And I remember my dad wanted me to go to like an ITT technical institute, which is funny that I don't do the software like John, but it's funny I ended up doing that. But my dad was like, "Oh, you should go to like a technical school, like an ITT technical school," and I was like, "Nah."
ITT Tech, I remember that.
Yeah.
My dad wanted me to become a priest. Thought I would be good. Yeah,
Those would be
theology.
some funny sermons.
Yeah. You know, so it wasn't so much that I wanted my daughter to be a lawyer, but I will say I think she'll be a phenomenal lawyer because it's the other stuff that I taught her, logic, reason, thinking, arguing, questioning, debating, like, and now obviously that brings up a child that talks back and stubborn and, you know, all those things that you may not want as a parent, but I think that leads to it. So it's not like I bred her or I was like, you know, giving her law books as a kid,
Mhm.
but it was kind of like a roundabout way that maybe brought this on. Whereas, like, what's the difference with like if you're raising a little, like you're a doctor and your daughters or sons around you all the time when you're talking medicine and they see you
Yeah.
going into the hospital, like, and so those things carry on through the family. And I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
I would
interesting.
agree that stuff can carry through the family. Also, like kids are like so different. I mean, you have multiple kids. I do too. Like each one of them is so unique and tailored.
So
like,
unique.
to different things and what like lights them up. And you know, I do like that the world respects that more now than it used to be. I
Yeah.
do feel like a lot of people were forced into things maybe they didn't want to do and are like there and maybe unhappy or whatever that kind of looks
Yeah.
like. But
It's different. Like as a parent, that's why they say the magic number for the wealthy is 5 kids. With 5
So
kids, you're bound to have one. I think Emma will make a great lawyer. I think Cohen will probably make a great salesman. I think Jen will probably, you know, maybe she'll be a doctor. Maybe Dagny will be my one that like takes over the family business. You have to have a certain mindset. Not every one of your kids is going to be a phenomenal. Like I saw that with my old broker. Like I know he really wanted his son to take over the family business, but like his son's just not.
yeah.
I mean, you know, he's a cool dude, but like that's not what he's bred for. And when you only have like 1 or 2 kids,
The genes only mix a certain way.
you're stuck, you know. So you got to have more.
Yes, you gotta try out that gene map. Pick one out.
Yeah, dude. 5 kids, 6 kids. The more
Gosh.
kids, the merrier.
All right, which of these videos are we watching first?
Before that, I'll have to just sidebar this. I need to see the interview, but before we play actual clips that we have live, just speaking of kids and stuff, this is kind of funny. Did you see Patrick Bet David took out Barron Trump? Is that his youngest son or youngest kid?
I see that. I did not
for
see
dinner,
that.
and Ted was like blown away. He's like 6'7", but is like super articulate, very emotional,
believe it.
intelligent. Like is like they're like, dude, this guy is gonna be like a future president. He's like 18 and is like,
Of course he will be.
he talks
I think
like
the
he's
Trumps
like a,
are like
a,
yeah. Trumps
Yeah.
are going to be like the Kennedys. Like
I'll
it's
just
just one
send
of
you
those
that. I'll
names.
just send you that clip.
Yeah.
Copy.
That's interesting. Send that to me. I did not
super
know
enjoy
that.
it.
Did I send a Patrick Bet David one? I saw another one that was interesting. But yeah, what else do we got?
We got Rob Khalif, we've got Investor Lift, and we've got Clever Investor and Cody Sperber.
Hang on a second.
I thought this Cody Sperber one was pretty interesting.
So the Cody Sperber one, yeah, that's interesting. Let's do that.
All right, here we go. Let me turn this on, and then I got to figure out how to get to the beginning. I'm going to have to reshare with audio. Hang on, guys. All right. Share.
Now, just like yachts and the Lamborghini. And then I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I read your post about that.
One Lamborghini is cool, but what's cooler than one Lamborghini? Two of them. We got to get another one. Now I need a Porsche because I really like the way Porsches drive. And then I had a Range Rover and a Tesla and a $4 million house and this and that. And it's like, oh my God, my living expense is $150,000 a month, whether I put my pants on or not. How did I build this luxury prison? How did I get here? And you know what I could have done during that? It was about a 7-year period that I lived like that. Do you know how much further along I could have been?
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of commercial real estate I could be sitting on right now. Just like I did when I got the big house and the Lamborghini.
I like that somebody at that level is talking about that.
Hang on. So I mentioned this before, because we talked about this before. This is a different post I sent, but he had used. I don't know if you didn't play the whole thing. Did we get to the part where he said luxury prison?
I thought that was it. Yeah, no, that was it.
It was longer. I think you cut.
Oh no, it was at the very beginning.
At the very beginning, he said that the house was his luxury. So I don't know if it was definitely longer, dude. You talk about he was spending 150K a month.
Yeah,
in his bills.
You got that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So 150K a month in his bills, luxury prison. And I think it's important to know. So I've been doing this for 14 years, right? Like I've been through the ups and downs with like money and not having no money, having a shit ton of money, wasting money, coming in, keeping my expenses low. And you don't need, I think a lot of people think that doesn't happen until you get to that level, but it can happen even in your smaller scale where you're spending. Huh?
You named it something, and I've never heard anybody else except for you use it. Like
same. I remember a term, but I don't like. I'd never heard it before.
Encroaching or something, or lifestyle
creep.
Lifestyle creep. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like it's very important, and business does that too, where you start adding on subscriptions to services that you see, and next thing you know, 200 here, 100 here, 500 there. Next thing you know, you're spending like 15K a month, and you didn't even know how that's happening, and now you got to make more money, and you're profiting less anyway. When he said that, I think that's the most important thing anyone in this industry needs to listen to, because we started getting back to that. And that's one of the reasons why I sold my truck too. It's like, we just started buying things and and then I was collecting buildings locally that I wasn't doing anything with. I was like, I like that. I was buying them just because I had the money. I wouldn't do anything with them. And it's like, that's a prison and an asset prison, not just luxury prison. But he's right. Like, what else could I have done with that money when I was younger that would have brought me further along? And I mean, people would tell me, well, what are you doing with that? You should sell. I'm like, I'm never selling that. Like, I'm going to keep that forever. Well, what are you doing with it? Well, nothing right now, but and it would just sit there, bro, just doing nothing. And you really want to buy the big house. You want to buy or you want to build a new house. It all adds up. I'm not saying you're not rich. I'm not saying you can't afford it. But do you need it?
Yeah.
And should you be focusing your money on something else? What 150K a month? He could have put a down payment every 3 months. He could have been putting a down payment on some commercial building. That would be 4 new commercial buildings a year if that was truly his expenses.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, I think we've talked about it many times. Our industry in itself, the influencers in the space promote that you can have this level of success and get these things that I have, and be able to and it's just like consumerism at its simplest form, but in the sense of showing off, this is what I'm capable of purchasing and doing. And which is weird though, because you're right. You would think that the conversation should be, well, this is how many commercial buildings I have. These are how many doors I have, not how many Lamborghinis I have. But even you just mentioned is you gathered buildings that you didn't necessarily need or use. So maybe that's the same thing too. I don't know. I don't have the answer here, but
it wasn't. So there'd be a difference. I'm sorry if I maybe had people misunderstand. I wasn't buying performing assets. I was buying vacant things just because I wanted them. because I had future plans for them because I'm a hoarder by nature. I collect things. So it's not like I bought a cash flowing asset. I bought something and just let it sit there, and it was a liability. I was buying liabilities is what I was doing. Yeah, they were real estate, and I did sell and I did make a profit when I sold them the past couple of years. I sold all my stuff to go into mobile home parks. I made a profit. That's not the point. And I'm sure Cody got rid at the time he realized this, Lambos were like profitable to buy one and flip. You were flipping Lambos 2 years ago in the inflationary economy. So I'm sure he profited. But the point was, what could I have done if I would have kept that 50K or 60K on this or 20K on this? And I am not at the level Cody's at. So that's why I'm saying there are different financial prisons in creeping of your lifestyle. And you don't have to be a multi-millionaire for that to happen. You could have now been making, let's say you're making what, John? Average person makes, well, how much a year does the average person make? Like
60?
50, yeah, like 60K. So 5K a month? Well, let's say you start wholesaling and you make 20K a month. Well, it's real easy to go buy those 2 new cars, get a mortgage payment. Next thing you know, 10K a month is now unexpected, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
So I respect what he said, though, and it also
I do
resonated.
too.
Yeah.
I want to hear the longer story of like how he changed his lifestyle and what did he change to and why he became happier
That's
with
the
that.
question I have, because I don't know, because I know he just built a new house, so I don't know if it was because of that house or he did it before. It sounded like he did it when he was younger, then went back to like living frugally, redid his whole business kind of, started making even more money, and now can realistically afford this prison. There's a big difference if you're making $30 million a year in spending a month versus the average real estate guy makes a really successful one between like $3 to like $8 million a year, I would say, typically. Spending $150K a month on lifestyle, if that's your category, that's a prison. 150K at 30 million is not a prison. 150K if it's all passive income paying for it, not a prison. It depends on where the money comes from too.
Yeah, that's a good point to list it out. And we've heard of people. We've talked about people on this podcast before who like, they buy a jet, but they buy a jet because they have like 50 of their 200 homes are paying for that jet. And like you're saying, like with passive is paying for it versus like a wholesaler is like, all right, I have 150K in expenses this month. So therefore we have to get 5 deals. So everybody gets to work.
Money.
Let's go.
Yeah. Which is where I was. I was all on earned income, and I had rentals, but they weren't producing nearly as what my parks do now. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, dude, I'm doing this completely like 100% wrong. Let me just revamp everything. And that's what we're doing.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, though, and like I saw a video from Nick Perry, I think it was this week, where he was walking through his penthouse in, where is he now? Mexico somewhere? Cancun? Cancun. And he's like, I'm getting all of this for like $6,000, right? And it's like, and then he was comparing it to what you'd get $6,000 in the US for, and he is like, you know, this house is 4 times bigger. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have seen Nick Perry's lifestyle. I don't follow him as much as I watch his stuff as much as I used to, but there's that side of it too. Is like you could still have the flashy things, just go to a place where they're affordable.
There's a few people. I noticed an uptick in people posting about living outside the country now. Like even the Devin Wayne guy, that he is.
There's a few people.
Insightful. He even was posting. I noticed he was posting it like the last few months. He was like, "Oh, we're moving to Austin." And then I think today I just saw he's like, "Actually, we're staying in Mexico." He's like, "There's no good cities in the U.S. anymore. Like it's all like, not safe, not quality." So it's interesting.
I don't disagree with what's happening with the immigrant status of like the crime waves. Like who knows? But like, is it safe? I've never been out of the country with the exception of Panama. It's the only country I've been to. So I can't really speak to international travel. I honestly have no real desire to like travel internationally. Like maybe I think about it, like maybe one day and like I have so much money, I just travel luxuriously where I'm bringing my home on some jet with me where I don't feel like I'm not home. Like I'm good, bro. I'm good. They were making fun of like England and stuff and like France and like
I
Europe.
think
Did you
I've
see
seen a
that?
video like this. I've seen a
Yeah,
video
and
like this.
they were
The guy was
dragging
like,
the states over like
Yeah.
the European countries. They're like, this is why Americans don't travel, because they're one state. Traveling to one end of the state is like traveling from the UK all the way over to France or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they put Alaska over
Uh-huh.
like the Netherlands and like Norway, and it's like they don't need
Huge.
they don't
Yeah.
need every state is like its own country, and I do feel like that. Like when I go to Georgia or Arkansas or PA, like
Oh yeah.
it's all different. Like the people, the attitudes,
Yeah.
the work ethics, all different.
Yeah, I watched a video of a guy. He was from Europe and he moved to the United States, and so he made a video. It was like, so I want to tell my European friends that still like follow me. This is why Americans don't travel, because they can drive for 3 hours and get to something entirely different that's not like their home and feel like they're on vacation. Where in England, everything is pretty much the same, like with some little differences. But if you want to see something new, you're going to get on a plane and go to Spain.
Hop
You
on
don't
a
have to
train, you
do,
go, yeah.
yeah, you don't have to do that in America. You could get
Yeah,
on
you
a
don't
plane in America, and for the same amount of time it would take you to get to Spain, get to something even more different than what you could for like
Yeah.
driving for 2 hours. It was pretty funny having him explain it as a person who came from Europe, and it's true. Like I know people in England, and they're like, yeah, we just went on vacation to Belgium, we just went on vacation to Spain.
So different.
Nobody says I just went on vacation to London. They're like, come on, that's a weekend day trip. What are you talking about? That's not
Yeah.
vacation.
Whereas like here in the US, it's like I went on vacation to California, I went to Florida, I went to New York City, I went to Boston. Like for us, like and that's how I am. Like, and I'm just a different personality. Like I don't desire like, oh my God, I gotta go see Mount Everest. Like I saw it in a photo. Like I'm gonna hang out with my family. Like I'm good. I don't need to do that. Anyway, what you got? You got something for us?
No, I was gonna say talk amongst yourself. I'm just messaging my next meeting here.
So I will say, so we talked about like mentoring and stuff. This is a little side thing. So I'm buying this mobile home park. I'm buying another mobile home park I got under contract. I don't know if I mentioned it or not.
I've lost count of how many mobile home parks you have under contract at this point in time.
We need an icon. We need like a logo in the show. Where
Just a running counter.
Like a counter, yeah.
It's a very
How many
like
under contracts? How many
an
closed
icon
on?
dashboard, yeah, of just where Papa P's at with these.
Yes. I was looking at my stats, and so anyway, I'm not going to get sidetracked. So like I was thinking about what we said. So I'm working with this wholesaler. He's younger, right? And he had Carlos. Did we talk about this? So
you mentioned. I don't know if there's a new one, but
no, this is it. He went to the other buyer. The other buyer basically,
and he came back.
He was like, anyway, yeah. So anyway, he's back. I put it under contract, deposit down, and like there's a lot of stuff that like he's just not. He doesn't know anything. Like he's not bad. Like obviously he got it under contract, negotiated good terms, but like he's missing stuff and he doesn't know what to collect. So I'm here and I'm over here sending him stuff. Like he's not asking, and it's really like when you talk about like how you pour into somebody, and it's like versus me charging somebody or something. He's giving me value by giving me a deal and leading me in on potential other deals. Whereas like, so instead I'm sending him my documents and I'm like, hey man, like this is going to help you in the future. Like the other day he had issues trying to renegotiate a seller financing, and I'm just like, I have this tool. Like here you go. Here's my seller finance matrix. Use this instead. And I was thinking, I'm like, this is how it should be, instead of like mass education of gurus and online courses that you have to pay 10 grand, that you gatekeep all this information. I just was thinking about that, and I was like, sending him like my due diligence checklist. I sent him the name of the lawyer I bought my contract from. Like, hey, here, if you want to step up, like you need to buy a contract. I'm not going to give him a contract. There's legalities there. But like, go buy this contract. This will help you on your next deal, so that way your terms are proper and you don't get ripped off.
Yeah, kind of like impromptu membership. Your audio is pretty compromised there, Papa P. Do we have a hard stop here in a minute, John, or no?
I would do. Gotcha.
Cool. Well, let's wrap, guys. That was good. That was good impromptu episode.
I would like to come back to that point. I think it's an important one about mentorship. You did sound like a Speedy Gonzalez robot for most of that, though. And it's still going. So you should listen to the recording on YouTube afterwards to see how funny you could hear what you're saying, but you're also like laughing at the way that it's coming out at the same time.
That's hard.
But yeah, no, I like the idea of mentorship, and I would love to like combine this with education, because I think it's also interesting to talk about like sentiments of the younger folk now, and like what's the chances of finding somebody that actually wants to learn. Anyways, cool.
Yeah, I have something to say to that, but we should carry this on. Message this in the Slack channel. We should carry this on, because I have more to say about like that in general. I think it's important. There's benefits to both sides, I think, is all I'm getting, and it's the same stuff I used to do. So anyway, guys, I'm off to buy more mobile home parks.
Love it. Tune in next week. Have a good time doing that. Are you close to your goal? How many days do you have left?
Oh, raising $1.1 million, bro. It's tight. I'm going after $500,000 with this guy right now, actually. So that's my next.
Nice.
My next thing. So we'll talk more about it next week.
The universe will give you some good energy.
Oh yeah, dude. I got God on my side. I got this. He wouldn't have made it happen if it couldn't be done. So
there you go.
100%.
Lock and load.
Love it. All right, guys. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you later.